Welcome into the podcast. It has been a little while since I did one. I decided I was going to take a break about 2 weeks ago. And so that's why I missed that week. And then I was planning on doing another podcast, but I forgot that I was going to this bachelor party on Friday of last week. And so I was there getting drunk instead of recording a podcast. In retrospect, probably should have been home recording a podcast. My poor liver. I don't know how it puts up with me. I've been thinking about what to do for the podcast. That's the biggest thing with taking a break, because I'm having a hard time with content, honestly, and there's things that I want to talk about and things that I just don't really care to talk about, or I want to talk about them but I don't really know how to put what I'm thinking into words. So this kind of be an interesting little podcast. I was thinking, man, I should just go through all the music that I like and come up with these lyrics that have had an impact in my life. And I was like, that's a ton of music that I'd have to go through. That Lupe Fiasco song, Hip Hop Saved My Life. It's not quite on that level, but it's pretty close. There's been a lot of good that's come out of hip hop that I'm glad that I know about it and I listen to it. And I think that there's this idea that everything has to be really deep, and there's a lot of music that I think is just fun, honestly, and those aren't gonna make it on the list because honestly there's not much to the lyrics or whatever. A lot of the new music is kind of like that. It's something you can bop to, and that's about it. And I didn't go really far back because there's a lot of old music that I love that has a lot of lyrical meaning and stuff, and there was a lot of music that it has a lot of lyrical meaning, but it just didn't, to me, it's it doesn't apply to me. Because I was looking over this list, I'm like, I don't have any Kendrick on here. And he's in my top 5. Lyrically, top 5. And I was like, I don't have any Kendrick on this list. But then I was like, I just love his music. It's not that one lyric has stood out to me particularly, well. I just like all of his music. And I've been listening to a lot of Kanye West. That's kind of all I listen to sometimes is just old Kanye, new Kanye, in between Kanye. I think his music's great. And so there's a lot of stuff that came off of that. There's a lot of stuff that came off the Soul Tapes, and honestly I could probably do over an hour on each of the 3 Soul Tapes that Fabolous put out, just because lyrically his punchlines are so good. But I didn't want to just focus all on that, I wanted to have a variety. So I'm gonna read the lyrics off, and I'm gonna try and be as clean as possible. I don't know if I'm not gonna say the N word. I don't really feel like doing that. But yeah, I'm just gonna get to it. So the first song that I was listening to was We Major, Kanye West. And what this is kind of goofy, this wasn't one of those it has such an impact on my life. But then I thought about it, and there's a little bit to it. It says, feeling better than some head on a Sunday afternoon, better than a chick that says yes too soon. Until you have a daughter, that's what I call karma. and you pray to God she don't grow breasts too soon. And I thought about this so much because, I want kids eventually, and I would love to have a little baby girl. She's gonna be mixed, Asian, Latin, I don't know, black, white, whatever. She's gonna be mixed, obviously, because I don't love Asian girls like that, at all. No offense to the Asian girls out there. There's a lot of beautiful Asian girls, but just not my thing, And I thought about this. I'm like, I benefited greatly from the girls who didn't have like a father figure, and that's life. Like, early people that I dated, I tended to always date girls that like their parents were divorced and they didn't have their dad in their picture, and so that gets a bad rap. They're like, oh, daddy issues, but it's like what they crave is that attention and validation from a male figure. And so a lot of times it's easy to give that to them, and it's easy for them to like be happy with that and reciprocate those kind of feelings back towards you. And so there were a lot of times I think that I took advantage of that, I guess. And so for me, it's like, man, if I had a daughter, I'm going to be in her life, and I'm going to be there standing right behind her when she brings those little boys home. And that's always something that worried me. Because it's like, you don't want to push too hard in one direction, but also you don't want to just let them do whatever they want, And you hope that the way that you raise your kids helps to instill like a good moral value system in them, so that they aren't out there acting stupid, acting foolish, whatever they want to do, And so that lyric just like it hit me. I was like, man, too real. But back to more Kanye. All Falls Down is one of my favorite songs by him. I love that punchline, couldn't afford a car, named her daughter Alexis. I think that's just funny. I think that's hilarious. But you always wonder, because you meet people, and I think there was another lyric that talked about it. Is like, or a comedian, that people name like their kids after stuff that they can't have, like Diamond or stuff like that. Alexis, Mercedes, and Porsche, whatever you want us to call it. But there's a lot of good lyrics in that. One of the ones I really like says, "We buy a lot of clothes when we don't really need them. Things we buy to cover up what's inside." I think that's profound. I think that there's a lot of people that aren't comfortable with who they are, and so that's their outlet, is how they look. And this doesn't have to be just clothes. This can be how much they gym, tattoos, cars that they own, clothes that they have, whatever it is. It's not that way for everybody, but I think for some people, that's the way that they cope with how they feel about themselves. Because you reach a point where you decide, this is what makes me who I am. What I have makes me who I am. And I think that's a kind of a dangerous path to go down, because honestly, material goods is material goods. When we die, they don't come with us. And if you leave them, what are they, how many times have we cleaned out like grandma and grandpa's storage stuff and just thrown stuff away? What we leave behind like that, material goods, a lot of times it goes to the Goodwill or it goes in the trash. So it's like, what are we leaving behind? We need to leave behind positives that we instill, changes that we make. You have to leave behind a legacy of who you were as a person. And that goes along with another verse on that song. It seems we live in the American dream, but the people highest up got the lowest self-esteem. The prettiest people do the ugliest things for the road to riches and diamond rings. I am 100% behind this, because sometimes the people that have the most advantages in life, the best looking, the richest, those people have nothing going for them. And I love this quote, and I always quote it. I quote it probably too much, but it's like, some people are so broke all they have is money. That is so true to me, because in my experience, like, South Carolina had a lot of poor people. When I lived, I'd go around and meet a lot of people just because that was the nature of my job, surveying. And some of the nicest people I ever met were the people who had next to nothing. And that was crazy to me. It's like, man, I myself would be bugging if I didn't have a lot of things. I don't think I'd be as nice of a person necessarily. I mean, I'd like to think that I'd be nice regardless of my situation. But it would certainly be much harder to be upbeat, to be positive, and to be happy when you really don't have much. Some of the rudest people I encountered were the wealthy folks. And I don't entirely know where that comes from, if it's the entitlement that they feel in other areas of their life, and that just translates into everyday living. Just small things that you'd be kind of surprised. It's like, wow, that's just basic courtesies, and you don't have them because you think that you're entitled to get your way 100% of the time, no matter what. And so, and then it kind of, the last line in that song that I like, it's, then I spent $400 on this just to be like, dude, you ain't up on this. And that's why I cannot, I always want to leave the sneakers, but I never can because I love sneakers. I hate the community. I love sneakers and hate the community. And that's because, to me, there's so many people that the flex is all they care about. They go in and they're like, look at how much I spent on this. Look at how many pairs of Yeezys I have. Look at how many of these I have. All it is money, man. Like, anybody with money can be where you're at. It doesn't make you special. But that's how it is, and that's like how they rank people according to what they have, what sneakers they have, and it just kills me. I just can't deal with it sometimes, so I kind of have to remove myself from that scene a lot of the times. Let's transition over to this J. Cole lyric. I like this song. The album, that 2014 Forest Hills Drive, people hyped that album so much, and like, it did really well, obviously, but people like made it into something that I don't think it necessarily was. And then his next album was built up to be like that, and then it wasn't. I thought it was still a good album, but it just wasn't, it didn't have the hype reception that 2014 Forest Hills Drive did. But the one song on there, Love Yours, there's the little 4 lines. Always gonna be a whip that's better than the one you got. Always gonna be some clothes that's fresher than the ones you rock. Always gonna be a bitch that's better out there on the tours. But you ain't never gonna be happy till you love yours. This, man, there's kind of a trend here with these lyrics that like impact my life. It's being happy with who you are, what you have, and making the best of the situation that you're in. I know that there's so many people that always compare what they have to their friends, to family members, to everybody. They're like, I need this because so-and-so has this. That's, social media kills me because of that. Nobody posts all the negative on social media because, honestly, nobody wants to see that. But at the same time, everybody posts positives on social media. Nobody wants to really see that after a while either. Social media has become so prevalent in our everyday life, but in reality, who cares about all that stuff? People post everything on social media. It's like, look, I just got a house. This is this. I have this car. I'm in this foreign country on this vacation. And that's all that people see. They don't see what goes on with anything else. They don't see how you're doing mentally. They don't see how you're doing spiritually. They don't see how you're doing physically. They don't really see much of anything like that. They see what you want them to see. And so it becomes almost a strain when you get on social media and you see everybody doing so well. But that's such a small segment. But when we see everybody doing so well, then we start looking at what we have, and it's like, man, I don't have that new car, or that I don't have a house. I saw somebody post, they're like, oh, I finally got a house. I'm 22 years old, finally got a house, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I don't have a house. But then it's like, well, what is the circumstance? You don't know the circumstance of how they got the house, how much debt they're in now, what kind of things that they don't have because they spend all their time working, or whatever it may be. There's so much more that we don't understand about everybody's lives. And frankly, it's none of our business. That's something that we don't need to be sharing all the time. And it's interesting to me because with social media, we are able to post everything up. It's like, look at this new pair of shoes I got. I'm guilty of this because I post all the time. I'm like, look at this. And it builds up this idea that that's who we are. Because in real life, if social media didn't exist, I wouldn't go door to door and be like, hey, so I just got this new pair of shoes. Check it out. Pretty sweet, huh? But it's easy to post on Instagram, and then people are like, oh, I like that because that's cool, It's just a weird dynamic, I don't really know why everybody feels that need now. I think it's because it's available. But it's it's nice when you can just see good things on social media, like positive things, and I think there's a lot of good with it. I think that for the most part, though, it's pointless, waste of time. Another J. Cole, Nobody's Perfect, the song with Mary J. Death over dishonor. They killing dudes for J's. That's death over designer. Before I knew sneakers and anything, I didn't know that people legitimately lined up for shoes. I didn't know that kids got shot and killed or robbed for their sneakers, because I had sneakers from Big 5 Sporting Goods. I had some Reebok basketball shoes. I had Airwalks from Payless. Fashion and shit like that was never important to my family growing up. It wasn't until I started buying my own clothes and stuff like that that I was like, now I know that these exist and I want them. Air Force Ones, that was the cool thing. And I was like, I need these. And the idea that I was going to spend $90 on a pair of shoes, I didn't tell my parents. I just saved my money and I bought them on my own. And, I still don't tell my parents how much I spend on shoes. But it's crazy to me to think that somebody wants what you have so bad that they would be willing to take your life away and throw theirs away. That what a weird culture, because I don't know if it's just the population that likes sneakers, the groups of people that like sneakers, versus nobody's getting killed at Comic-Con trying to get in line for different autographs or toys or stuff like that. There's all these people that aren't getting mugged for their stuff. Kind of interesting. And then another part just right after that, it says, remember when I used to be stressed over Dewana? Now a dude only texts and gets stressed over Rihanna's. I'm talking 10s and better. So I'm not talking to Rihanna's. I'm not talking to 10s or better. I can tell you that right now. But the fact that I used to stress over these different girls and stuff, I'm glad I don't anymore. What a waste of time, honestly. You go through you go through this stage where you think that like your value is based on what you have, going back to all this pattern here. It goes back to like what you have. So is the girl on your arm, is she bad? Well, if she is, then you must be doing all right. You must be that dude. Because oh hey, he pulling these girls that are amazing. That means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. It goes back to this lyric that I'm going to share right now, this Big Sean one, from Halfway Off the Balcony. I realize when it comes to girls that chemistry means way more than anatomy. If that's not the truth, I don't know what is. Because, before it's like, oh, I'm going to find the baddest girl that I can possibly find. The best looking girl. Oh, she got everything. Cute face, tiny waist, big butt, whatever. And that's all that you care about? But then eventually you're like, it's like talking to a brick wall with this chick. I don't care how bad she is. I can't do this. I won't blow my brains out. Or it's like, she's not a nice person. How long are you going to put up with that until eventually you're like, no, this is not happening. Chemistry means way more than anatomy. How are you vibing with people? Is it... Because there's people out there that I just vibe with them so well. But, they wouldn't be somebody that I'd be, like, attracted to normally. But it's like, you're more attracted to them because of the cool vibes. Because of just how things are when you talk to them, And it took me kind of a long time to figure that out. I don't know. And then sometimes you have that rare moment when you meet a girl who is a 10. She is a Rihanna, and she's cool. And she's the most down girl you've ever met, and you vibe with her, and it's just awesome. Another Big Sean song, One Man Can Change the World. I love the whole premise of the song, that one man can change the world. I think that a little bit of that is it's kind of hard to say that, but you can certainly make the world better from your one perspective, from your spot. And when the lyric in that song says, but when you're getting fast money, slow down, don't crash. With all the drive in the world, swear you still need gas. I think you gotta step back a little bit and realize what fuels your goals, and not get discouraged by when things aren't going well. I think that's something that I'm still learning, because I tend to get into this mindset like, this isn't working the way I want it to right now, so I'm giving up because this is never going to work. Patience really goes such a long way for that. And, I don't know. It's an interesting mindset to have, that if it's not working right away, then it's never going to work and I'm going to quit trying. It's self-sabotage. And it's something that, I work on. This other lyric is from a Big Sean song, All Your Fault, but it's actually Kanye's lyric in the song. Young Walt Disney, I'm gonna tell you truthfully, if you leave Mickey, you're gonna end up with a Goofy. Now, I kind of have mixed feelings on this, because I don't think we always know, like, what our good situation is. When we leave it, I think we know better what a bad situation is, and then we leave it. But I think that it goes a long way that we have good situations in our life, but there's something that we think that we need more. And so we're like, let me just experience that. Let me try this. But ultimately, you might lose your Mickey and end up with Goofy. I mean, not saying that Goofy's bad, but for the metaphor. Do you really want to end up like that? You lose your soulmate and end up with some joker who, he's not going to treat you the same. Maybe he's different. Maybe there's things about him that were attractive to you. He's got a dog named Pluto. I don't know. It's an interesting world we live in where the grass is always greener to some people on the other side. Some people understand that the grass is greener where you water it. But for some people, it doesn't matter how much they water it. They'll always look into the neighbor's yard and think, I kind of want to try that out. And I don't know, it's not a character flaw, but it definitely makes things more difficult, I think. If you can never, truly know what you have or be happy with it. Back to the original theme of this whole podcast, apparently. Let's see. Thank Me Now. A little bit of Drake. There's a ton of Drake's early albums. Thank Me Later and Take Care. Take Care. Those two albums I played over and over and over again when they came out, each time respectively, like for months. That's all I would listen to. So Drake's one of my favorites. I haven't been as on board with him like the past couple albums, just because I don't know. He's evolved his music, and there's some songs that I find good, but at the same time I'm like, there was some real truth in the things that he said on these early albums when maybe he was doing his thing, He didn't have all this other happening. But the first part of the second verse in Thank Me Now, or the third verse, says, I think I'm spending all my time with the wrong women. I think I have a chance at love, but knowing me, I miss it. Because me dedicating my time just isn't realistic. Man, the good girls went silent on me. They got a boyfriend or they left for college on me. And all the bad ones I used to hit are friends now. That makes me wish I had a little less mileage on me. It speaks to me pretty deep. I'm not ever going to say that like some of my past relationships would have ended up in a positive spot. I think only one of my past relationships is one that I still hold on to that belief 100% that it would have ended up in a good spot, or now would be in a good spot. But I always thought it was funny. A lot of the different girls that I took to like school dances, I'm pretty sure all of them are married. Like 100% of the girls that I took to school dances are married now, except for one. My very first school dance as a sophomore, weird Asian kid, she is very successful with like hedge funds or something. I have no idea. I couldn't describe it to you. Like Forbes 30 under 30 successful, And so she's not married. But everybody else is, and these different girls that I've dated, they get into, after they date me, they're in long-term relationships or they get married. There's been a couple like that. And I'm like, man, kind of feel a little bit like Good Luck Chuck. It kind of sucks. Because the thing that I have this problem with are exes that pop up out of nowhere. Like, I haven't talked to you for 8 years, pop up out of nowhere. And what this does is it's almost like they check up on me to make sure that I'm still single and I'm still doing whatever it is I'm doing. As if to be like, look at me and my happy life. And things got better when I got rid of you, type of thing. And it gets really old. And at this point, I've let it roll off my back. Whatever. I'm glad you're happy. Please don't contact me anymore. But sometimes it feels like, man, like some of the people in my past, it's like if I had just done things differently, where would I be with them right now? Or would I still be with them? if I'd gotten like the help that I needed, what would that be like for us? If I'd done things that I should have done, why didn't I do those things? Because you look at it and it's like, well, you didn't know. It's like, but I kind of did realize what I was going to lose if I didn't shape up. And then I didn't shape up at all. Or in different relationships where it was more of a, I just don't care to commit like that. And they wanted more of a commitment, so they left. And really, who is to blame in that? I don't think you can say one person is to blame, but mostly me, because I wasn't willing to commit. And so sometimes you kind of wish, like, I wish a lot of these things hadn't happened. I wish I hadn't dated so many of these different people. You know what I mean when I say dated, obviously. But it's like, would be nice. Would be nice to see where I'd be at. But I think that's life. We take chances. What's that? The Magic School Bus? Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. I think that is life to a T. You don't know what's coming up, and so you just go for it. And sometimes when you go for it, you're like, oh shit, go back, don't do this ever again. But we don't have any control over that, like, because we don't know when that is or when that's coming. Let's see. Do I have any other Drake ones? There's so many good Drake songs. Well, they got me through some hard times. Sitting and listening to Drake. Draking and driving, you know. Got me through some real good, tough stuff, I guess. I'm gonna hit Childish Gambino. This one song, Outside. I can't entirely... Okay, so I'm not saying I'm black. All growing up, people used to joke about that. Even now, some people still joke about that. I actually took my, 23andMe and Ancestry. I did both of them. Did DNA tests. I am 100% Asian. Crazy to me because I have like curly hair when it's long. I get like wavy curly hair. And every Asian I've ever met has the straightest hair on the planet. But I am 100% Asian. But this lyric, it kind of talked to me a little bit. He says, I just want to fit in, but nobody was helping me out. They talking hood shit, and I ain't know what that was about. Because hood shit and black shit is super different. I didn't fit in with the Asian kids that I knew. I still don't, honestly, because I'm really not that Asian. I like Asian food. I have Asian tattoos. But I don't like, I'm not Asian. I didn't grow up in that culture. My dad's half Asian and he grew up with a white dad. I mean, there are things that, Asian people experience with their families that I didn't experience. So it was super different. But I wanted to fit in with kids. I wanted to fit in with the kids that I went to school with. But they were white. And I was not white. No matter what I did, I looked different than them. I had slanted eyes and I had black hair. And so it was such a struggle for me I wanted to fit in so bad, but then I never did. And so then I did everything I could to stand out and be completely different. It was a weird dynamic in high school, and I hated high school. And then this other line in that same song, it's weird. You think they'd be proud of them, but when you leave the hood, they think that you look down on them. I have experienced this firsthand. It's like you start doing better, and people around you are like, "Oh, you're too good for me now. What, you don't want to talk to me?" And it's like, look, it's not that. But it is kind of that, man. I am better than you. You can't really come out and say that, but it's like, look, I'm in a different spot than you. I'm doing things differently than you, and no, we really don't vibe anymore like that. I mean, we may still always know each other and be friends, but we don't vibe like we used to. And you would think that people would be happy for you when you accomplish something great, or when you take chances. I moved out of Utah, and one of my friends showed up to say anything, help me move. One. And I'm like, I've been down for these dudes for so long. I've been down for all these people for so long. And what happens? I have one kid show up and say, man, I wish you the best. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope that you can figure out what you're doing in South Carolina. Man, I'm going to miss you. And I couldn't even get that from like people that I consider to be my friends. Like it was a chore. And for a long time when I moved to South Carolina, I resented that. But like I moved because I was moving to work with my buddy. And you know, it's just crazy to me, you know? You really hope that people are like they're happy for you, and maybe they are, and they just don't talk to you about it. When I moved away, I didn't hear from anybody. If I wanted to hear from somebody, I reached out. But it was crazy because the people that I have on the East Coast that were friends of mine, I heard from them. Heard from my buddy in Florida. Heard from my buddy in New York. It's like, man, hopefully things are good and you're good, because that's a hell of a move, man. So it's weird. It's just a weird feeling. And like I said, so I could talk hours and hours on Fabolous and the Soul Tapes because I love them. Probably my favorite albums ever, from top to bottom. Soul Tape 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just gonna hit a couple songs. I think I have 3 songs. I picked one, just 3 songs that I really like the lyrics. But if you haven't, I challenge you to listen to all 3 of those albums cover to cover. There's punchlines in every song that make you think. So the first one, Transformation. It says, no, my opportunity could have been stopped at a dime. The life you choose comes from lack of options sometimes. Gotta do what you gotta do, even opt into crime. Luckily, that's not my life. I've been blessed. I'm fortunate to have what I have and live how I live. But sometimes the life that we choose is because we don't know what to do. And so we look at the options in front of us, which may not entirely be accurate because we're looking so quickly, and we pick one. And honestly, sometimes when we choose the wrong thing, it messes up our other opportunities. But that's life. Life is all about picking different opportunities and running with them. I think it's really difficult to want to, do the right thing all the time. It's definitely easier not to sometimes. Speaking loosely about when I was in high school, it was easier to do things that I wasn't supposed to, because of what it got me and where it got me. Ooh, I like this one. So it's from Diamonds. You know that Rihanna song, Shine Bright Like a Diamond? So it's a remade beat, and then Fabolous raps on it. And the lyric is, was taught to be a winner, but I learned more from my losses. Losses like, when you go, is your friends going to miss you? Was it because you beneficial or beneficial? Did you understand? I don't know if you understood the punchline, but like, because you were beneficial to them, do they miss you because they're missing something that you gave them? You were beneficial to them? Or because of who you were, they're like, man, I miss that kid and I miss them being in your life. And it's like, I learned pretty quickly that some people are friends because they'll always be your boys, they'll always be your friends. And then there's some people that you're friends with them because you kind of live by them. and you meet up with them when you meet up with everybody. And so then friends turns into acquaintances and whatnot. But the first part of that I think is interesting. Was taught to be a winner, but I learned more from my losses. I hate the idea that now people they don't keep score in Little League because they want everybody to do well. But it's like, you learn a lot from losing. I remember some painful losses in youth sports where you shed a tear because it's hard. That didn't make me weak. That didn't make me not want to play the sport. It made me want to be better. And so now, of course, people want their kids to just be protected and happy and always have all whatever. I hate that. Because in life, you're not always going to win. You're not always going to just have things given to you. And so sometimes it's good to experience loss and that gut-wrenching feeling of being stomped on the field, wherever, because it makes you never want to feel that again. The last one is from a song called Drugs. And it says, you gotta take the good with the bad, love what you got, remember what you had. Back to this whole podcast. Always forgive but never forget. Learn from mistakes but never regret. I like that one actually so much that it's tattooed on my body. It's tattooed on my arm. Always forgive but never forget. Learn from mistakes but never regret. And I talked about this last time, that you're allowed to have regrets, I think. You're allowed to wish things had been different. The thing is, you can't let that define you and define your life and sit there and feel sorry for yourself. The most important thing I think from that one is always forgive but never forget. I have never been one to easily just forgive. I would hold grudges and I'd stew about it. And then at some point in college, I think I just hit this switch what is it benefiting me to hold a grudge against somebody? And the most telling experience, I guess, of this was I've been friends with a kid for forever. He's my best friend growing up. And he moved back to Utah, and we partied until we almost died. It was crazy. And we had a huge falling out over some really dumb stuff, okay? And it turned into a huge thing where people picked sides, people talked a lot of shit, people did a lot of things that I was like, are you kidding me? There's still people that I remember what they've said who have never apologized, who I will not personally give the time of day to ever again. But I'm not holding on to that. That's the never forget portion. I forgave everybody from this incident. It was sad because it took a friend dying in order for us to start talking again. And when we talked, I was like, man, I want to apologize to you. Because we haven't talked in years over some really dumb stuff. And he's like, man, honestly, I feel the same way. And it's like, both of us have felt this way for the majority of the years we didn't talk. But we never swallowed our pride and reached out. And it's hard because, pride is a serious thing. But the idea that you can have, you can carry grudges and stuff, it just weighs on your soul, I think, and it eats you up. Whether you want to believe it does or not. It takes a toll on you. And so, for me, I just gotta for my own sanity, I have to let things go and back off, because I am one of those people, it will ruin me if I just sit there and try and stew about it. And I have some acquaintances that I feel like they have a grudge that they're nursing. I don't really know why. Maybe I did something, maybe I said something, but I think this will be a good opportunity to reach out and just find out what's going on, because it feels that way. It feels like I'm not being included or talked to because they're upset with me. You know? It's a bad feeling to have, but I honestly love music so much. I want to end this podcast, and I think I'll get back to the weekly podcasts, get back into a rhythm more, and I'm really excited because college football starts tomorrow. For some people's teams, and so I love college football, and so some of these podcasts may be talking about that and college athletes and stuff like that. Good stuff. But yeah, I'm grateful for what I have, honestly, and seeing different things this week have made me even more grateful for what I have and have inspired me to do better. You know, we can never stop improving ourselves. We never stop growing. We never stop learning. Because if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. So, yeah, it was great. Thank you for tuning in. And we will get one going next week.